allow people like this, violent criminals that have no conscience at all, to murder our mothers, our sisters, our daughters. What? I don't understand why there's even any kind of problem with this. And it's not that it's political, like the left or the right, although I understand different parties have used it in the past. But we have to look at it as we are American citizens. We need to protect our families.
And what's sad is that if President Trump was not the president, this would all be getting worse by the minute. By the minute, it would be getting worse.
Well, I do, but I want to preserve life. And that's the only reason why I have taken and spoken about Rachel all this time. If you're a mother here in the room, can you imagine standing there alive? You're alive. If someone comes and puts their hands into your chest and rips out your heart, that's what it feels like. It feels like a part of you is being ripped out of you. You can't even describe the pain. Just like you can't describe to your husband.
You're not getting that right now. You need to find something else to do. This aren't going to help. You know what you want. Yes.
What are you saying?
American citizens.
What are you saying?
Why are we not protecting our children? And to have a son.
I look back at full strength. Enemy dropping into the
EKIA! Daughter and the brutal death that she endured, leaving her 5 children without a mother, and now a grandbaby
Playtime's
without a
over.
grandmother.
Stand by for deployment
So
to the
that
war
he
zone.
can use my taxpayer money to fly to El Salvador to bring back someone that's not even an American citizen. Why does that person have more rights?
Okay, where?
Than I
Now, tell me where.
For my family, for my country.
You're gonna tell me where. Now.
These people are horrible, but do you know who isn't horrible?
Primary objective.
That would be our. Give me a minute here. There's so much going on.
Superstore?
So right here, that would be our great president.
Okay, I'm
Trump,
down for
right here,
downtown.
who met with the mother right here.
Let me know when you guys want to jump out. I'm out!
It's nice to have a president who actually cares. And there's a lot of evil forces, you know, that, you know, are trying to tear him down, tear anyone down that supports him. And it's sick, twisted, and disgusting. Let's see here. Where are we at? Let's see. Aaron Alexander says, or the Mad Shogun says, Elon needs to hook up with a better class of women and keep away from those crazy thoughts. Hey man, everybody's got their weakness. River Miles says MS, and then a lot of dashes. 13 to Letitia James. Letitia James is a terrible person. Dougie B for 20 says, hear that, American citizens, the Democrats prefer MS-13 members over you, for fuck's sake. They do. They absolutely do. Nightmare99 for 20 says, give him the chair or send him to me. I just think that, like, you know, I don't think it's wrong. Like, I don't think it's wrong to be more worried about your safety than worried about people's feelings. I think that your safety is more important than a bunch of mentally ill people's feelings. I know, call me crazy. Call me crazy for thinking that. But hey, we could be back to the Joe Biden era because
enemies
Joe
and
Biden
secure
showed
supply
up yesterday,
caches to
ladies
help
and
remove the
gentlemen. That's
bounty on
right.
their head.
Joe Biden showed up yesterday, and let's just say it wasn't a great showing for Joe Biden. The Democrats deciding to roll Joe Biden out again. I was live when it happened, so I did hear a couple of clips from it, but let's see what old Grandpa Joe's up to.
Former US President Joe Biden has delivered his first public address since leaving the Oval Office. The 82-year-old was speaking at a conference in Chicago, and seeing as he's been out of the spotlight for some time now, you might expect that he would be appearing less tired and more energized after his break, possibly with a powerful message to share.
Pulling into the parking lot, and I had never seen hardly any black people in Scranton at the time, and I was only going in the 4th grade. And I remember seeing the kids going by at the time called colored kids on a bus going by. They never turned right to go to Claymont High School. I wondered why. Asked my mom, why?
What? Holy shit. Please
You guys doing good up there?
bring Biden back and let him talk more.
No, he is still a rambling mess and not exactly roaring back with energy. In fact, it's the same mumbling waffle that we all had to put up with for years. But this speech from Joe Biden was a disaster from the very start. He started speaking while the music was still blasting, making it impossible.
Bebop, I'm going to just assume that your would comment applies to her, because I'm sure that it might have applied to something else, but we're going to do you a solid. I'm just going to assume your would super chat applies to her. I'll cut you some slack on that one. Because I see Kretosis, and I'm sure that was around the time that the Letitia James video was up. Go easy on her, Jeremy. Her eyes are like that, so she can see predators approaching from the side.
Possible for anyone to make sense of what he was saying.
Thank you. So good to get rid Deserve help. Pay for it.
So awkward.
Extract
And it seems-
kilo is
I
inbound
didn't
now.
see that part. Is that for real? So the music was playing while he was talking, and they... Is that for real?
Where?
I
Where's
didn't
movement?
see this yesterday.
Can we reach out that far?
Started speaking
I'll
while
try.
the music
Yeah,
was
here we
still
go.
blasting, making it
Oh.
impossible for anyone
Where?
to make sense of what he was saying.
What are you going for, guy? Oh, I see him. Shoot again. Shoot again. You're a little bit low. Just a little bit low.
SATCOM, give me a UAV.
So awkward. And it seems Joe Biden's delivery style hasn't changed one bit. He spent most of the speech attacking Donald Trump and speaking about social security. And when he wanted to make a really good point, he just started yelling.
It's about dignity.
Cargo's on
Simple
board.
dignity.
Extract kilo is RTB.
Now, how did that
Everyone.
fucking get
What?
destroyed?
And when he wanted
no,
to
they're
make a
coming
really-
Why
back.
did he go? It's about dignity. Simple dignity. Holy crap.
Good point, he just started yelling.
I fucking...
Dignity. Simple dignity. Everyone deserves to be treated with dignity. Regardless of their standing, regardless of economic situation,
Whoa.
regardless of
Where's
who
my
they are.
RPG at?
Didn't you
Dropping
call
into the area.
MAGA
Watch
a
the
bunch
sky.
of losers? Didn't you?
Americans who live with disabilities are treated with dignity.
Not today.
Who we are.
Oh, you gotta be shitting me! I didn't know he was
And
fucking
to think that
reviving
this time
himself!
last year, he was trying to convince you that he should stay on as President of the United States. What
Yep.
a joke. Social media users are slamming the former president for his first speech since the election. One user posted to X, Biden should have never come out of hiding. Another said, this man is not well. So did we miss Joe Biden? Not at all. Remember when he called Donald Trump supporters garbage? Well, this time he appears to suggest that Trump voters have no heart.
Can't go on like this as a divided nation. It's a divided world. I said I've been doing this a long time. It's never been this bad. And
Okay,
it's roughly
that was,
30%, but it's a 30%
That was bad. That was bad.
Now, the Democrats are in trouble with no clear leader or...
So everyone deserves respect. Everyone. You can't treat people like that, except for those people that vote for Donald Trump. Except for those people that vote for Donald Trump. Dougie B on Rumble for $100. MAGA Red $100. Says I had to come to Rumble to say this because YouTube fucking sucks. Democrats are not people. They are demons. Satan's spawn. They literally want savage child killers to murder all American citizens. Doug B is pissed, and I share his sentiment 100%. Thank you, Doug. Hell yeah. Good to see you, brother. Good to see you. And they are, man. They're evil as fuck. Like, there was an interview with, was it Sean Hannity was interviewing Stephen A. Smith. And they were basically talking about how Sean Hannity says, you know, the Democrats will never accept you. And Stephen A's like, oh, I know. It's like, then why the fuck do you support them?
Vision and Joe Biden coming out of hiding is not going to help them. AJ Rice joined Power Hour for his assessment on why the Democrats are suffering. Look, we were speaking about Democrats before. Why?
Well, the Democrats they're in bad shape right now. I mean, when you bring Joe Biden out there and that's the result. Oof. And not only that, AOC and Bernie Sanders are running your party right now. This is not a good situation at all. 8 o'clock for 20 says they should arrest that Maine senator for attempt to human traffic and illegal. I agree completely. Into the 64 for 20 says the far left only cares about illegal aliens. They need to go or be judged by the American people. Also, these corrupt judges need to be fired and thrown into jail. I don't give a damn about them if they don't care about us. Evil people, man. Evil. Nightmare says, make a statement, fire up Bundy's chair and try him in that. Jeremy the Cyborg for 10 says, hail the 199. Hail Jeremy the Cyborg. Panic of Skyfaller says, sorry I'm late. Is it just me or did Trump did Trump lay a trap? Unless I'm wrong. It looks like they strategically waited until the Dems landed in El Salvador to release that information. Potentially, you know, listen, I've said many times, I don't think that Trump operates with 5D chess like a lot of Trump supporters do. But Trump is very methodical and very intelligent, and he's definitely ahead of the curve. There's no doubt about the fact that he's ahead of the curve on a lot of different things.
To do RPG
I don't think that it's to the level that some Trump supporters are like, oh, Trump is just like, you know, an alien who's operating in a different dimension. It's like, not really. But he's definitely ahead of the curve, and he's smarter than all of these clowns, 100%. Taker says a federal judge has ordered the Trump administration to facilitate the return of Senator Holland from El Salvador, to which Trump replied, who? McCock says, let's see, Guar Gura, the PewDiePie of YouTuber with 4.5 million subs, says she's retiring. I'm super sad, and 4chan is down forever. I have no idea who that is. But I'm sure that Hayden Wayne's probably not happy either. Emerald Eye says fat Letitia James got that Chafoya disease. One eye looking at you, one eye looking for ya. Got that from chat music. Magna North says she's going to be more googly-eyed after they send her to the trans female prison. You know what's sad about that is that we actually, and this just kind of shows you how crazy things are right now, that these are the types of things that we're celebrating. Again, and I'm one of the people that did it, but I mean, let me see. I know I liked, I think a reply from Dan Vask. Let me see if I could find it.
Back in the AO!
Yeah. Oh, here it is. Okay. So it was Az's tweet right here. So we live in a world where stating the fucking obvious is now classified as a major win. This is the level of insanity we have to deal with. UK Supreme Court just ruled that the law defines women as people born biologically female. This is a huge win for women, men, and the sanity in the UK and the West. Again, the fact that this is considered a huge win just shows you how fucking crazy everything is.
Ready for lunch.
This is insane. I mean, again, I'm happy that it happened, but it puts it in huge perspective that we're celebrating that common sense prevails. This is where we are. This is where we are. Now, there's another story that is making a lot of rounds, and that is the Carmelo Anthony story. And I have not really spoken about this whole thing about the mansion and the Cadillac and all of that, because I wasn't even like sure if it was legit or not. I did make a joke earlier, a very insensitive joke that I stand by completely. But this all starts because this story right here, Carmelo Anthony renting a $900,000 home in a gated community, in other words, a white community, with family, bought a new car after release on bond in Austin Metcalf murder case report. So there's also a report that there was like a Cadillac involved. They bought a Cadillac or something like that. But more is coming out about that story, and I'm not sure what's true and what's not true. Let me see if I can find it, because I did bookmark this story earlier. Where the hell did it go? Yeah, right here. So Dom Luker tweeted this out. It has been revealed that Carmelo Anthony has not withdrawn cash from the Gibson Go fundraiser, and that the $800,000 house and leased for $3,700 while the family was in 2022. It's the same address that's been in the white pages for 2 years. The report about the Cadillac was completely fabricated, which hurts this case. Spreads further division and accusations of bias. We are moving towards a race war thanks to influencers, not civilians. I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, like, at the end of the day, if the New York Post falsely posted this story, I could believe the mainstream media is trying to drive further division into an already divided story. But with all of that said, do you know who's the true person that's driving the division? Carmelo Anthony and the people around him. You know, the guy that killed the white kid, because they uploaded this right here. They uploaded a fucking video for his walkout, treating this fucking clown like a celebrity.
All right. Come on, just follow back behind us. Just stay close, okay?
This is insane.
Carmelo, do you have anything that you'd like to say, Carmelo? Do you have anything that you'd like to say to the victim, to the family of the victim? Why were you armed, sweetheart? Carmelo, why were you armed at school? Explain your self-defense. How is this self-defense?
Excuse me.
Is there anything you want to say to the community that's donated?
Absolutely insane. Now you may be saying, Carmelo Anthony seems like a very, very sweet kid. That's what his family's telling you. Yeah, great kid, this Carmelo Anthony. Great kid, great upbringing. This is the guy that the media is going to build their next George Floyd race war around right here. I'm telling you that there's 100% going to do this. This is what the media is going to do right now. They are going to do it. They're going to drive as much division as possible. And it's all going to be in an attempt to make Donald Trump look bad, because that's their sole focus right now, is to make Trump look bad. So we'll see how this case continues to, transpire. But yeah, I'm not thinking this is going to be a good thing, and I'm hoping that we can get out in front of it, but we'll see. Here's Colin Rugg. The family and friends of Carmelo Anthony are now promoting a new shirt with his face on them that says Free Carmelo. A new website has been set up with shirts that customers can buy. The website was first promoted by DJ Fatboy Easy on Instagram. It's unclear what DJ Fatboy Easy's relationship is with the family. However, Carmelo's cuz was seen wearing one of the shirts in the photo with Carmelo after he was released from prison. Yeah, I mean, if you aren't willing to, if someone in your family commits a horrible crime and you're not willing to say to that family member, you deserve to rot in hell for the thing that you did, you're a terrible person. Like, at some point in time, like, Jesus Christ, what are we doing, dude? The dude killed another person.
Shot.
He literally killed another person. It's that simple. I've had some horrible things. Like, I won't go into details, but like, there was a distant family member that did something really bad a long time ago. I've completely cut ties. That person has been properly dealt with by the authorities. I'll never speak to him again. They should burn in hell. They should rot in hell. And I will never speak to them ever again. And anyone in the family that you know is affiliated with them. You know, like, it's terrible when somebody does something terrible.
He got me.
You can either choose to be a clown like this, or you can actually hold people accountable. When you're not holding people accountable, it doesn't matter. People need to be held accountable for what they've done. Or you can sell the fucking merch like these motherfuckers are doing. It's absolutely disgusting. Really
down
is,
too
man.
easy.
So, God, I'm telling you that this feels like it's got George Floyd all over it in terms of the narrative that the media is building. So again, I don't know if the New York Post story is true or not, but if you've seen the uptick in anger because of this story, that's what they're trying to do. They want people to be angry. Now, I don't know if Dom Luker's version of it is legit or not either. I don't know. Let me see if we can find anything else on this. From what I understand, Carmelo.
Moving here.
It's weird because I'm used to Carmelo Anthony being a NBA basketball player. Let's see, give, send, go. Let's see if we have any true updates on that. And I've seen a lot of like discussion around like the give, send, go thing. I personally have no problem with give, send, go making it available and letting people do what they want. Like like at that once you give a platform, once you start saying, hey, you're not allowed to raise money for this individual, it's a very, very slippery slope. It's a very slippery slope. I don't like that, because once you start doing that, then it's like, oh, well, then what else are they going to start taking down? What's the other one? There's Give, Send, Go, which was created because of the other one. What's the fucking other one? The crowdfunding website or whatever it is. What is it? Somebody's gonna say it in the chat. I'm drawing a blank. It's been the politic GoFundMe. Yes, GoFundMe has shown that they are 100% like politically biased. Didn't they take down Kyle Rittenhouse's, if I'm not mistaken? Kyle Rittenhouse had a GoFundMe and that one got taken down. Correct? And so once you start, so I don't like that. Like if individuals are willing to put their money up to support another individual, obviously I don't think that that's good for individuals to do that, but I also don't want to take people's ability away to do what they want to do with their money, even if it's to support a fucking criminal. I don't think the platform should be able to step in and go, well, we don't like this particular situation if we're going to shut it down, because it opens up a very slippery slope. I don't like that. But that's what GoFundMe is doing. So I don't know. It's hard to find any stories that's actually giving any more details on that. So like I said, there are questions if this is legit or not. The time will tell. What isn't being questioned is that Carmelo Anthony took another person's life. Based on the police report that we have, based on the information that we have,
back in the AO,
that doesn't look like there's anything that would show that this was anything resembling self-defense.
Oh, that was a bad idea.
From everything I've heard, although Tim Pool will tell you differently. But We got a proper 199 from Dougie B. Says, I'm so pissed right now. How about a nice diversion? What type of diversion would you be talking about, Dougie B? What type of diversion could there be to cheer everybody up? What could there be? I don't know.
Should I do it?
Do not come.
Come on, baby. Come on. I'm gonna do it. Beautiful white paint. It's coming down at 10,000 miles an hour. It's coming down at levels of speed that nobody ever even conceived of. Where it's rough, but it's coming, and now it's turned around. It turns around, and it's coming, and it's gonna. I said, oh, because you see at that bottom, this section right here, that sucker's. Oh.
Back in the AO.
And of course, Dougie B, just because you dropped the MAGA red over on Rumble as well, we'll give one more.
I'm so happy you love the first drop of my collection of Frankie's bikinis. We have more dreamy pieces coming our way, so tap to sign up for early access so you can get more information.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Chat's very happy. Thank Dougie B for that one, okay? Thank Dougie B for that one. Okay, now, here's the thing, all right? Stephen A. Smith. I've heard, hang on, I hate how YouTube does this right here. Okay, so Valuetainment was talking about Stephen A. Smith, and I'm just telling you guys, like, my gut feeling is that Stephen A. Smith is going to be a player in the next election for the Democratic Party. Not because I think he's qualified, because I think everyone else that they have, any prominent names, are completely so unbelievably retarded that I think Stephen A. has a shot. And it's starting to pick up momentum. Here's Valuetainment talking about it with our good buddy Chris Cuomo, who no one should trust.
Back right along.
And I don't mean to, like, canonize this guy. And I'm afraid, because I know what happens when somebody's getting elevated, there's now a price on you to bring you down. And I don't want to see that for him. So that's why I'm shy on this. But he is also a reminder that reasonable should be a commodity. It should be a commodity. The fact that, you know, you got to be full-on MAGA, or you got to want to kill Trump. You know, last night I said, I want the president to be successful in making the economy stronger for as many workers as possible and to set us up for a better national security perspective. And I didn't say President Trump for a reason, because I wanted people to grab the concept of the office. Nope, I got savage. Okay. You say anything about Trump, you get savage.
Well, you get savage because you're a lying piece of shit, and I don't think anyone's ever going to forgive you for that. So you get savaged because of who you are, not necessarily what you say. But, like, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't really matter what you say online. Like, you're going to, like, if I go into a stream or a chat full of people that don't like Trump and I show up and I say something about Trump, I'm going to get annihilated. That's just how the internet goes.
UAV is online.
You know, if somebody comes into this chat, starts talking shit about Trump, they're going to get annihilated. That's just the internet, man.
That's the problem. Nobody is like that anywhere else in their life, except in our country. And Stephen Smith is a reminder that you don't have to be a rabid form of one or the other. And that's why I love it.
I think Democrats will destroy it if he runs as a Democrat. I think they will destroy it. I think eventually they'll want to control what he has to say, and they'll have that meeting to say, you better do this or else we have this on you. And they won't. It's what your brother wasn't willing to do.
You can't do that with him. You know Stephen well enough.
I know. But what I'm saying is, it's not about
Stephen A. Smith will 1000% 1000% play ball with the Democrats. Stephen A. Smith does not have a backbone. He is a politician. He's been working for ESPN, and he's been carrying the water that the executives at ESPN have wanted him to carry. He has no fucking backbone whatsoever. He is not some trailblazer. Stop building him up to be anything other than a fucking cuck, because he's proven it. You don't elevate at ESPN for the decades that he's been there without being a fucking politician. He will cuck to whatever the Democrats want him to if he actually has any legitimacy within the the polling.
You can or you can't.
Enemy advanced
If
UAV
you
is
can't,
moving here.
then you can't run. Because in the Democratic Party, they believe in arranged marriage. They believe in arranged marriage. They tell you, hey, Democrats,
Yeah, but
this is your president.
They lost. They're down. They've never seen numbers like this. Their organization is screwed up. Nobody wants to give them money. So I don't know that they'll have it under control. But I will tell you this. You are right about one aspect of the dynamic. I would be very surprised if the next 1, 2, 3 Democrats that we start talking about are inside the system. On some level, they will be perceived as outsiders. Maybe they'll be an officer, but they're not going to be seen as part of the establishment. I'm just, that's on both sides. Because they're kicking my ass.
But that's the thing is, like, that's the whole narrative surrounding Bernie Sanders. They built Bernie Sanders up that, like, he's a political outsider. He's against the system. No, he never was against the system. He was always part of the system. They tried to build this image up that he was a political outsider, and you learned that he was just another cog in the wheel for the Democrats when the going got tough.
So much the establishment side that I know they're afraid of.
It's going to be an Oprah. It's going to be someone
Something
from,
like that.
from
Well,
the entertainment
Enemy
world. He's
advanced
got
UAV
the smarts
overhead.
and also the charisma and the it factor, like Trump. They need a Democrat version of Trump.
Yeah,
and right now, no one's
because they don't have a. And they keep saying the face. Who's going to be the face? You have AOC and Bernie Sanders out there. Like, by the way, there's no.
That's a gift to you.
That's a
by
big
the
time.
way.
Yeah, every time they speak,
What
every
a
time both
gift.
of them speak. But when it comes like a Stephen A., you made a great point, Pat. Like,
stop
not only they're going to go after him, it's like if the Democrats, because he's saying this himself, he's saying, I'm getting approached by these politicians, I'm getting all these people. If they're going to back you and give all that money, by only
Would have ignored this story in the past, or kind of, maybe mentioned it once or twice and then said, oh, this guy's really bad news, let's find something else. They are advocating for him to come back.
Well, no, you just don't understand, because he was involved in gang activity due to his childhood trauma.
Of course.
He never,
Yeah.
he never went to Freudian psychotherapy to resolve in himself. So he deserves to be here so he can continue that process of growth.
This is a common thing that you see with the left, and I get. So anyways, it's a common thing you see. They don't believe that people have agency, right? So the people that are criminals, they're criminals because of the situation they're in, because of the way they grew up, etc. It's not that the criminals decided to do criminal things. It's that
Wait a minute.
What?
I kind of disagree with your point of view here.
Go ahead, please.
The question of whether or not these violent criminals have agency is kind of irrelevant, because they should just be thrown in jail anyway.
Fair enough.
Doesn't matter.
Fair enough. I mean,
And honestly, personally, I don't think that they have a lot of agency. I think some of them just have a propensity to violence, and they're just psychopaths. They're just born that way.
So you think that? Well, okay. So it's not. They're not a product of their environment. They're just born.
Maybe it's some of both.
Bad. I mean, I tend to agree with you, but the leftists, I don't think that. Whereas I tend to agree with you, and I think that there's a lot of people have certain proclivities, right? Like if you're conservative, you're probably you've got a significant portion of your conservative leaning is because of like longer time preferences or
Higher disgust factor is another
things
one.
like that. Like the big five that Jordan Peterson talks about. The
IQ above 100.
Fair enough.
You can hold a job. Right. General emotional stability. These things.
But I think that what I'm talking about is more the way that the left kind of makes excuses for people that act. They say, well, it's not their fault. It's the conditions that they're in, and they do it. You hear people that, again, the Israel-Palestine thing. People always say, well, What would you do if you were in Palestine? I wouldn't go into Israel and kidnap people. You know, it's like you may have a problem with the fight, but I wouldn't be getting, you know, when the actual terrorists went into Israel, I wouldn't have been jumping on mopeds to be like, yo, let's go grab some Jews and bring them back.
You're right.
You know, I wouldn't have done that. That is what I would not have
They
done.
want to believe that crime happens to criminals.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and the same things, and same thing like when it comes to the Ukraine
sitting here, I
Russia,
was like,
right?
man,
Like there are a
why
lot
are my
of people that
nuts
are out there
flooding
that
in my
are Ukraine. And it's like, well, you know, look, I mean, I understand that the U.S. foreign policy, you know, led up.
Let's not derail that far.
Well, I'm just saying that's something that you hear a lot. People taking agency away from the action. Putin's the guy that said we're going to go in.
Just basically to add on to that is that the left will go and find something horrible and try and justify it or say, well, you know, they have one. It's a great example where they say, well, the healthcare industry is so evil, and it may be. I'm not going to deny that there's bad practices in the health insurance industry. But the solution to that is not to kill CEOs on the street.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's the thing. So there's common ground there if we want to find it, right? Where we can say, all right, healthcare, health insurance. There's a lot that we may want to fix. There's a lot of things you may feel slighted by whoever, you know, is your insurance provider. But the solution isn't to murder the CEO. First of all, it wasn't the CEO who did. Brian Thompson, I think was his name. He didn't deny that person's care. He's the CEO of the company. You know, if my T-Mobile went down, right, I wouldn't. Well, the CEO must die, you know, because I have no service in the hills. You know, that's just not the way a rational person thinks.
Let's jump to the story from CNN. Abrego Garcia's wife responds to Trump administration publicizing civil protective orders from 2021. You know, why have they been calling him Abrego Garcia? I just realized his name is Maybe they don't like that name.
It doesn't sound like doesn't sound like a very Maryland man type of name, right?
I mean, Gilmore, MS-13 gang member. Anyway,
Such nominal determinism every time.
Yeah, so check it out. The wife of the Maryland man. I'm gonna fix this real quick. Can I fix this? Can I?
Enemy UAV is online.
I gotta fix this. There we go, Maryland man. Here. So for those that are watching, you know what it says. The wife of the terrorist. Enter. Did we get it? I fixed it. There we go. The wife of the terrorist who the U.S. government mistakenly deported to El Salvador. Okay, I'm not going to do that again. Acknowledged she had filed a civil protective order against him for 4 years ago, but said it was out of an abundance of caution, and the couple had worked through their issues. We call that Stockholm Syndrome.
No, she's just a ride or die hoe. Like El Chapo's wife. She just said she had no idea about any of the criminal activity.
I've never heard anyone more ride or die than Chapo's wife. I don't know what you're talking about.
An abundance of caution for what, though? What was she being cautious about? Nobody wants to ask that question.
Left and right.
Exactly, right? So you're being cautious. You know, why did you feel like you had to be cautious?
Enemies are dropping into the area.
Right, that's it. Because he's beating her up with closed fists. That's why.
She burnt the enchiladas. You don't understand.
That does suck. You know, I like my enchiladas.
You're just not like really stepping into his shoes and like understanding.
Not understanding him, no.
Well, I mean, look, you know, he's trafficking humans. He's trafficking humans, and at the same time trafficking mud on the carpet. And she's yelling at him, and then he's visiting, right?
Yeah.
That is a joke, by the way. That is not a statement of fact. Let me read more. DHS posted portions of the order on action. Who is not a sympathetic figure. The Trump administration's release of the document comes as part of a renewed push to portray Abrego Garcia, who has not been charged with crime, a dangerous criminal, and a member of a Abrego Garcia's wife and lawyers have denied his part of the gang. Well, two judges said he was. In a statement to CNN, Vasquez Sura said she sought civil protective order after a disagreement with Abrego Garcia. Oh, so she was falsely accusing him of domestic violence? Because in the filing, it says domestic violence. So, okay, she's right. Abrego didn't do anything wrong. Trump, lock her up. She filed the false report.
Yeah, go after her. That's it. Yeah.
There you go.
That's where it belongs.
Quote, things did not escalate and I decided not to follow through with the civil court process. We were able to work through the situation privately as a family, including by going to counseling. Our marriage only grew stronger in the years that followed. No one is perfect and no marriage is perfect. Ladies, I got news for you. If you're filing domestic violence petitions, we ain't talking about whether it's imperfect. We're talking whether or not you're going to die.
Hostile UAV in the area.
You know, Maybe the reason she's doing this because MS-13 is threatening her.
That's true.
That could be.
Yep, they're like, we want you to go out in a statement and say he's a good guy. And she's like, oh no. This, you know what's really funny is, like, honestly, she filed
Enemy
for
dropping into the
protection against this
AO.
guy. He gets deported. She might have been very happy. Like, oh, thank God. And the reason why she ultimately doesn't follow through with the domestic violence petition is because MS-13 will come after her.
Yeah.
And so she's like, even if I win here, I lose there. Now, how much, I think there's a possibility that MS-13 and other gangs went to the wife and said, go and say he's a good guy and say he's not in the gang, or else. So now you got this woman, and I don't think it's unreasonable to say, what is the proof that when she filed the domestic violence petition, she intended not to follow through with it? When I go to a bar, in the bathrooms, you ever see the signs where it's like, are you being trafficked? And it's like, here's the hand sign you have to do. And there's some bathrooms in bars where there's like little red ribbons, and the women are supposed to take them and then hand them to the bartender, and that signals the bartender to call the police because they can't speak up about things. So here's a guy that 2 judges have said is in MS-13, hanging out with MS-13 guys. His wife filed a domestic violence petition, and now all of a sudden she's going, no, actually everything's okay. I'm like, okay, well, I learned from going to a bar that sometimes people who are telling you it's fine are secretly being trafficked or under threat.
Yeah.
So thank you, CNN. I don't know, just speculating.
Maybe she should go into witness protection.
Yeah, I don't think you escape a gang like that, you know what I mean?
Is she a
They're
citizen?
brutal.
Yes.
She's they're MS-13 when I grew up on Long Island. They took over Old Town. It's Brentwood on Long Island, and they're brutal. Now Tren de Aragua makes them look like, Boy Scouts, but these guys they chop body parts, the Colombian necktie. I mean, it's bad. It's real, and they don't mess around. When you're on their list.
Wait, what is the Colombian?
When they kill someone, they pull your tongue through the throat and leave it on the body. Yeah.
Oh.
Yep.
Really
it's
didn't know what
disgusting.
Columbia. Wow.
I had no idea what that was.
And this was something that happened. Long Island's like a nice suburban little.
What's it called when they put the tires around you? Necklacing?
Bounty targets identified.
Necklacing.
Weapons free.
What do they do? They put it around your whole body or just your neck? Top of the neck. They put gas. Jeez.
Oh my goodness.
Bro, it is wild.
Those are the people the Democrats want to bring back. That guy. Now I'm not saying he did any of that. We don't know, but he was a part of that gang that routinely did those things. Like on Long Island, if some story came in the papers that said that there was a dismembered body part found in the woods, the first thing you would think was MS-13, without even thinking twice. That's the people. That's the type of person that Senator Van Hollen is down there trying to. I don't know if he did any of that. But you're a part of that gang.
Just so long as Democrats are unsuccessful in their efforts, I am all for their efforts. Most of the American people look at this and say, what is wrong with you?
That's why the media's lying.
Well, yeah, the media, of course the media lies, but I think that nowadays, most people don't watch the mainstream media. I think that they'll look to podcasts or look to other forms of
yes, but you know that like Midas touch and David McIntyre are using the same talking points.
Yeah, but I don't know that. Is it your sense that those people that watch David Pakman could be reached? Back in the AO. Because I feel like people that watch Pakman, people that watch Midas, those people are already going to be like whatever the Democrats say. There's no middle at all.
We actually have the data, and we've gone over the charts on this show. The middle is like 3% of the country at this point. So certainly it matters to a degree, of course, but that 3%, how much are actually watching the news, and that's why they're in the middle, and it's going to be like 27% of 3% actually actively pays attention.
So that part belongs. Addressing it, or
that's why I'm saying that we do this show to call it out every single day. We want people to share this show, and we are hoping that by exposing how they've lied, people who are in the cult might break free. But there's not like an undecided individual who's like, I'm not sure who we can talk to about this.
No, it's not about whether or not about them trying to.
Enemy advanced UAV overhead.
It's about platforms like ours and like others trying to make sure that the narrative that the Democrats are putting out, that the truth comes out you know, and the average person that doesn't go out and search for this information, or even the people that do, make sure that there's the truth is out there.
I just mean that there's a large contingent in this country that are going to turn on David Pakman, and he's going to lie about every element of the story, and they're going to believe him. That was the initial point.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
But I do think that I do think that there are still people that get their news in small bits, the kind of people that are like, you know, not super plugged in, but they'll go and they'll watch an hour, 2 hours worth of news. You have to make sure that they have the ability to hear the actual truth of the story, which is he's not a Maryland.
Right. I mean, the funny thing too is, like, how long was he even in Maryland? Like 6 years or 7 years, something like that. So it's like the guy is, how old is he? Like 39 or 40? I don't even know how old he is.
I don't know.
A tiny portion of his life he's in. Like he's a Maryland man.
Yeah.
Like where was he before this? El Salvador?
That's the attempt to kind of distract from the fact that he's illegal, right? You know, because you're not allowed to use that term, right? So they say he's from Maryland because that's where he was. That's not where he's from.
Resting his head here for just
right. You know, it's like. It's like I grew up in New York. I live in Tennessee, you know, but it's like I wouldn't say that I'm from Tennessee yet. I mean, I've been there for 2 years. I grew up in New York for 31. I'm from New York. I live in Tennessee, right? And I love it. I call Tennessee's my home. I have we bought a house there. It's a great state. But where people ask where I'm from, my response is always, well, I grew up in New York. I live in Tennessee now because I spent 31 years of my life in New York and 3 years of my life in Tennessee, right? So where is this guy actually from? Well, he was in Maryland when this whole deportation happened, but he's from El Salvador, right? Mm-hmm. They can't admit that. They can't put that. They have to. It's branding. They have to brand him a Maryland man. You know, it's anything you see in the supermarket. Yoo-hoo. They don't call it chocolate milk, right? It's chocolate drink, right? Because it's not milk, and it's a whole you have to brand him a certain way to garner that sympathy.
Yeah.
So to say that you just mistakenly deported a guy from Maryland, that sounds horrible. But you didn't just mistakenly deport a guy from Maryland. You intentionally deported an illegal alien who belonged to a terrorist organization out of Maryland because he was a danger to the people in Maryland.
Yeah, I mean, it's good that the Trump administration had the what's it called, the press.
Taking effective fire.
They had the evidence that shows that he's, you know, all these terrible things. But at the end of the day, like, that's an aside because he's
right. So immediately he's ripe for deportation. It's not like one of these things where he came, overstayed his visa, and that's a civil violation.
Yeah.
He admitted, I walked across the desert for a few days and entered the country illegally in 2012.
Yeah.
So on that alone, that's a crime. Out. Yeah. Goodbye.
All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen, from the Washington Post. Judge Boasberg to launch contempt proceedings into the Trump administration. Oh boy. Is the judge going to try to arrest Donald Trump's lawyers, U.S. attorneys?
Who would be doing the arresting?
The argument is that warrants would be issued and any jurisdiction would pick him up.
Really?
But I don't think anyone's going to arrest U.S. attorneys. This is a massive gambit on Judge Boasberg's part, and this is the game.
Yeah.
Someone had to escalate this to executive authority. Check this out. The Washington Post says, Chief U.S. District Judge James E. Boasberg of Washington, D.C. on Wednesday said he would launch proceedings to determine whether any Trump administration officials defied his order not to remove Venezuelan migrants from the country based on the Wartime Alien Enemies Act. The Constitution does not tolerate willful disobedience of judicial orders, especially by officials of a coordinate branch who have sworn an oath to uphold it. He says blah, blah. Boasberg's order is the latest development. He basically said that there was probable cause. He said, he said, the statement he gave out, I don't know if they have it in here. Probable cause determined that contempt of court did occur. And essentially what this means is...
Hostile UAV in the area.
Not yet. They're going to have a hearing on contempt, but he's basically fired a shot across the bow at Donald Trump. Now, I will ask y'all, what happens if he actually tries to issue, if he actually does issue a warrant to have Trump's attorneys or anyone in his administration arrested?
I don't know exactly who. It depends on who the arresting authority is, right?
Well, I mean, the argument is, does no one try to arrest them? Like, what happens if a judge says, warrant, go arrest Trump's U.S. attorneys?
Yeah, I'm not sure who would actually be the who would have jurisdiction, because I would assume
the warrant gets issued. Doesn't that go out to all departments and agencies and they look up someone's information? Is a cop going to be like, there's a warrant, but I don't agree with it, so I'm not going to arrest you?
That's interesting. That's
don't know.
Interesting. It's I don't. Isn't this the case that was just kind of overruled by the Supreme Court, though, that Donald Trump was within his authority? So can he even do that? I mean, can he actually hold them in contempt for something the Supreme Court said isn't a something? Like, there's no there anymore. So hasn't his authority essentially been overridden in this case?
It's a judicial coup.
That's what it is.
It's likely that regardless of the Supreme Court's ruling, he had a ruling that was defied, and they went to the Supreme Court, so he's making a side argument. It's kind of like when you get arrested for resisting arrest.
Yeah.
Enemy deployed an advanced UAV.
Yeah, who does the arresting, though? That's an interesting, who does it go out to?
I guess the big question is this criminal contempt?
Complete contract
It
to
is.
secure payment.
He wants them to face criminal contempt charges. So a cursory search. It's a willful disobeying of the courts. Criminal contempt. So what will happen next is a contempt finding will be issued. The judge will enter a formal ruling, a summons, fines, or even jail time. The U.S. Attorney's Office I'm getting stitched up. Likely seek leadership may get involved. The attorney could be fined or jailed, although jailing a federal prosecutor is exceptionally rare and would provoke a major legal and constitutional standoff. If it's tied to a politically sensitive case, it could trigger congressional investigations, DOJ reviews, and massive media attention. That's about it. There was, a federal judge threatened DOJ attorneys in 2015 with contempt of immigration.
Back in the AO!
Interesting. He stopped short of any sanctions. So we will see. We will see. It's hard to know what, but
let's come around.
But this is him basically saying, like, criminal contempt, we want to put you in jail.
He's going to try it. I mean, he's already threatening it. He's going to, I think he's going to follow through. He thinks who he is, right? And I think this highlights another problem that we have, obviously, where one district court judge, one ruling from a district court judge. I mean, these district court judges actually have more power than a singular Supreme Court justice. You know, it takes 5 on the Supreme Court to push a ruling through.
That's interesting.
One from him is, and you have a national block,
which is unconstitutional and brings us to the ongoing constitutional crisis that's happening in this country. Donald Trump needs to start ignoring all the orders.
They tagged me!
I think Trump knows this, and I think the play he's currently making is he's got to be careful because perception is reality.
Right.
If he is going around laughing, saying no one can stop me and the courts won't do a thing about it, then the public will stand against him. Like, people are going to freak out and be like, whoa.
Yeah.
But if Trump says, we're doing everything we're supposed to be doing, what are they talking about? Then people are going to be more confused and more willing to see what's going on.
Enemy advanced UAV overhead.
Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly not an expert in this judicial process. I mean, this is probably unprecedented, right? I don't.
Well, none of this whole injunction thing at the rate that it's happening now happened over a month.
Under
anyone ever. And they'll say, well, that's because Biden didn't, blah, 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 blah. He didn't break the law. Like, did he not defy the Supreme Court with
Let me pause you on that argument. Universal injunctions are unconstitutional, period. Judges have authority only over those in their court proceeding. So if you and doing a lawsuit to me, I could only say you and you. I couldn't say the whole nation.
The whole nation.
And they've done 81 of these in 64 in Trump's first term and 17
Target
so far
area
in the
marked.
second.
You're cleared hot.
More than any other president, and around half of all universal injunctions ever issued. They are not constitutional. Trump and the DOJ need to bring this up. This needs to be their fight.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because it's judicial tyranny is what it is. It's supposed to be separate but equal branches. It's a coup. You're supposed to, each branch is supposed to have equal power. That's the, and it's not. Right now, a district court judge has more power than a Supreme Court justice, which doesn't make any sense. And a district court judge can decide that he's the president now and can start telling the executive branch how to do their job, and within the authority that this, like the trans ban in the military. Donald Trump is the commander-in-chief of the military. A judge shouldn't be able to tell Donald Trump how to. That's not their lane. You can't get in that lane.
No, and the idea that a judge should be able to affect the whole country like this. We have an executive. We have the separation of powers for a reason.
Right.
And a judge stepping into what the executive is doing in all of these different, like every single different arena that the president is trying to act in. And there are multiple judges that are stepping in the way. They're literally taking the authority away from the president, which was given to him, and I've said this multiple times, the only person elected by the whole of the electorate, right, the whole country, is the president. Congress and the Senate, they're elected by their constituents in the congressional districts and the states. The only person elected by the whole of the electorate is the president, and the president won clearly with the majority of the vote, right? 77 million people, didn't win just by the Electoral College, won the popular vote, and of course won the Electoral College. He had a mandate from the American people to do these things, and now the judges are stepping in because they're politically motivated.
That's
Again,
right.
This is not about. This is all politically motivated. Tim,
I got a question for the listeners. If you were the U.S. Attorney or the DOJ, and the judge issued a fine for criminal contempt, would you say, "Thank you, Your Honor, I will pay it post haste," or would you say, "Shove it"? Honest question. Put 1 in the chat for bending the knee to the judge, and 2 in the chat for giving him the middle finger. And the reason I asked this, I'm curious why it doesn't happen. You know, like at this point, why isn't the Trump attorneys and the DOJ just laughing at the judge, being like, "Bro, you're a district court judge. You don't mean ish.
Right.
You can't do nothing about it."
I don't know. I think the only reason why is that you just mentioned public perception, and would it be something that the public looks at, and does the normie crowd understand that he's just a district court judge? Do they know what that means, or does it look like Donald Trump is violating a court order and that's bad? I don't know what they're thinking.
It's twos. Well, it's like 100% twos. Everyone's saying like, "Screw this judge."
Screw the judge. I'm on the screw the judge train.
Look, man. What would you do, Phil, if you were in court and this judge said, "I'm going to fine you for criminal contempt"? Would you be like, "I will pay it," or would you be like, indeed, yeah. That's why this is all. We had Hannah on yesterday. Hannah Cox, she was saying that she fears it'll escalate to like a civil war with this tit for tat that's ongoing. But it's like the day after she's here saying it's tit for tat's escalating, it's the Democrat judges threatening to imprison or fine Trump's legal team, and they did, and the Supreme Court actually said that they could not be compelled to engage in foreign policy actions like this.
Right.
So it don't matter if Judge Boasberg thinks they're in contempt. The Supreme Court said you couldn't have avoided this in the first place.
Right.
Well, I guess to be fair, he's arguing that he wanted a detailed timeline on how this all went down, and they cited, I guess, state secrets, executive privilege of some sort.
Sure. Yeah, that's what they said. State secrets.
And the judge has no right to these things.
No.
I buy. That's it.
Look, you can ignore that order.
Look, call it a cold civil war, call it whatever you want. You've got judges issuing unconstitutional edict over this nation.
Battle Royale.
At rates we've never seen before. It is unprecedented. You got all these young people that are like, nothing ever happens. And it won't stop happening.
Right.
He's been the fact of the matter is, like we talked about this before, this wouldn't be the situation if the previous administration had the laws when it comes to the border.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if the Biden administration had done their job and if Joe Biden had not specifically said to people, surge the border. Right. He said that in the debate. And if you think that the people around the world don't listen when the president talks, you are wrong.
Right.
You're just wrong. He made that statement, and consequently, there was an wave after wave after wave of people coming to this country that have come into the United States. They're seeking asylum, but they didn't go to ports of entry, which is the proper way to do it. They would just come across the border, and when they would eventually bump into a border patrol or whatever, they'd say, I'm seeking asylum. And for some reason, the border patrol would say, okay, let's take care of you as if this is the proper way to seek asylum. If you came here seeking asylum and you didn't go to the port of entry, you're here illegally, and you gotta go back. That's it. You gotta leave. We gotta toss them out. This is the current administration trying to fix the lawlessness of the previous administration, and over and over, the courts are literally getting in the way, upholding the illegal actions or preventing the remedy to illegal actions by the previous administration.
You know, I say it all the time. Right? No matter where it is. Laws only matter if they're enforced, right? So when you have because and the proof is in the pudding. Right now, 95% drop in border encounters on the southern border, and there was no new legislation passed. Trump said it in his state. All we needed, right, was a new president, and a beautiful president, and a highly respected. He's a beautiful guy. But seriously, Biden and they didn't enforce the laws that we had on the books. Right? So, you know, I make this example. I get pulled over for speeding, but the law is such that paying the fine is optional. I'm not paying it because there's no enforcement. There's nothing compelling me to give somebody else my money for a traffic citation or whatever it is. IRS sends me a signed, beautiful, you never have to pay taxes again, and we promise you're not going to jail. They will not get another dollar out of me. I'm not going to pay it just to feel warm and fuzzy. I'm just not paying. The problem is that's not the case. They enforce those laws. They didn't enforce the laws down on the border. When these people don't, you know, what was it? Don't, right? Was that one word policy? You know, but it was like, you know, if you're not enforcing the law, then the law doesn't matter. Trump and his administration is enforcing the law, so the law matters. The problem is you have these courts that are basically saying the enforcement of the law is illegal, but it's the law. It's hard, it's frustrating.
This is the constitutional crisis, and it is that the judiciary is asserting constitutional correctness, as is the executive. Both are saying we are right and you can't do this. And guys, this is the issue that we've talked about when it comes to the Constitution before. When two factions reach the highest level of government, right now the judiciary, which is propped up by Democrats, these people are all appointed by Democrats or large are outright saying our worldview is correct and your worldview is wrong. Right, they're saying the exact same thing. No, your worldview is wrong and our worldview is right. And I happen to think that reality has a right wing bias. Because Maryland man is a lie. Yeah. And that's what they do to maintain power. Trump's only option is to stay course and defend the Constitution. The argument the left is going to make, the liberals are making, is that Trump is violating the Constitution. He's in fact not. He's abiding by it perfectly. They are in violation of the Constitution. If Trump does not stop them, he has abandoned his oath to the Constitution.
That's a good point. You know, and you mentioned reality has a right-wing bias, which is an interesting way to phrase it. But I think when Bukele was in the Oval Office, they had a conversation, and Trump said, you know, the people that are running it right now, it's not conservative, it's common sense. And I think that just kind of goes to what you're saying, that reality has that right-wing bias, right? And in other words, Donald Trump has espoused a lot of common sense positions, right? Securing the border is a common sense position. You can ask anybody, right, left, center, up, or down. Do you lock the door to your home at night because you hate the people on the outside? I hope you don't live in that type of neighborhood. Or because you love the people on the inside because you want to protect what's yours. And it's like, well, of course I lock my door, right? Well, apply that to the country. You know, you don't just let people into your house without permission if you don't know who they are. I wouldn't. Okay? I mean, unless we get a SWAT call, and I really have no choice sometimes. But, you know, I wouldn't let somebody in my house if I don't know who they are. They're not coming in. That's the point, right?
Well, we do have some news on these fronts. From the New York Post, Trump administration refers New York Attorney General Letitia James for potential prosecution over alleged mortgage fraud.
Good.
This is crazy. It's like there's so many instances it's hard to even go through all of them. In one instance, she was buying a house in Norfolk, Virginia, which she listed as her primary residence, and she did this, they say, to secure favorable terms. They said it was her primary home. Quote, it appears Ms. James' property and mortgage-related misrepresentations may have continued to her recent 2023 Norfolk VA property purchase in order to secure a lower interest rate and more favorable loan terms. if her primary residence was in Virginia, she is ineligible for being AG. And she apparently this happened in 2023 while she was preparing her case against Donald Trump for civil fraud pertaining to the accusation that Trump inflated his assets for more favorable loan terms, of which is a total lie. They also want to mention that she misrepresented a building as having 4 units when it had 5. Why? Because there was a restriction, I believe, on some mortgage applications where you couldn't get a 5-unit building. In order to qualify for a special loan, it had to be 4 or less. So she lied about the size of her building for more favorable terms. That's what she accused Trump of doing, which was also a lie. The question now is, we've seen nothing but half measures. Judge Boasberg says, contempt of court. Hearings to maybe determine whether or not you did. Housing, the Housing Finance Agency saying, you should prosecute. Maybe they will. And then this morning you had Pam Bondi say, we are suing Maine for having men and women's sports and considering maybe at some point, just a little bit, taking away their money. Like, how about anybody just do something?
Go in. Gotta go all in.
Arrest Letitia James. Criminally charge her for mortgage fraud. Let's roll.
Heads
Yeah,
up.
I'm with
An
that.
enemy squad
Because
marks
again,
you
what
as
is
a
what I
bounty
just said?
target.
Laws are only laws if they're enforced. If you give her this carve out, then you're setting the precedent that what she did is okay. And you just can't do that. She tried to set the precedent that what Donald Trump didn't do was something that he did to the tune of a $450 million judgment, right? She listed her husband, her father as her husband. She's not even married. It's not one of those things where, oops, I made a mistake and put dad's name where hubby's name was put. That's you don't have a husband.
Maybe she's banging her dad.
Well, I hope not, you know. It'd be like some Ilhan Omar type stuff.
Oh.
Some people did something.
See, we instantly...
We had to do it, right? Jar Jar Binks, we call it Jar Jar Binks.
Gas is closing in. Get to the new safe zone.
It's such a great impression. It's so distracting.
Oh, right. Some people, I'd say most people, because we're reasonable and obviously incest is wrong.
Right.
When you hear that she listed her dad as her husband, you're like, she must have been lying to secure loan terms. Maybe. And it's like, wait. Maybe she's just gross.
Yeah, she could be. She looks like Sasquatch. Look at her. That's Sasquatch. You will not see anything different. You look up a picture of what Sasquatch looks like, same person.
No, she's not blurry enough.
Well, right, yeah. She hasn't been taken on a Nokia flip phone.
And I got to give a shout out to Mitch Hedberg for that one. What is his joke? Maybe Sasquatch is just blurry? Yeah. That dude was a legend. But look, in terms of the escalation, the question is, will the Trump administration has saber-rattled quite a bit. Now these judges are saber-rattling.
Yeah.
Is any one of them actually going to say, okay, let's go arrest people? Trump's pulled clearances. The rumor is when he pulled the clearances of like Hillary Clinton and Biden and Secret Service and all that, it's preparation for an arrest. I would argue with midterm season starting in like not even a year, like it's going to be less than that, to be honest. Yeah. We're already in the 2028 primary cycle with Shapiro and Newsom. Trump's got a very limited window to do bold things. If he waits a year to issue indictments, that will upset the midterms and could hurt him.
Yeah, I think it'll demotivate the base. You know, I mean, we heard about retribution, right? And I don't think retribution was supposed to be half measures. And I'm not saying I'm disappointed in what he's done his first 100 days. I'm very happy with how a lot of things have started off. But he's got to go all the way on at least some of it. You know, I'm not saying you got to round up everybody who said, you know, and take broadcasting licenses away from everybody and indict and arrest like crazy, you know, like whack-a-mole. But something's got to happen. I mean, Letitia James, this should be low-hanging fruit. She lied on this. It looks like it anyway, right? Unless this was a calamity of coincidences, which I don't believe in. There's no way that what she did isn't mortgage fraud if she actually did that, you know, intentionally, which looks like she did.
Well, she responded. I am not afraid of no president.
Oh, God, come on.
No, stop, gentlemen, once again, you're making an incorrect assumption. That's a double negative, in which she's saying she may be afraid of the president.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
She says she's coming for Trump. I'm not afraid of no president, so you are afraid of some president. Donald Trump, we're ready for you. We're coming for you. Let me just stress that the appellate court has been sitting on their ruling in the civil fraud case for 7 months, which is very weird.
Yeah.
Makes no sense. I think that this was clearly deep state versus Trump. And the appellate court knows if they issue a ruling, they're either saying we will help the deep state or we will help Trump, and they don't know who's going to win, so they're just doing nothing.
They're waiting, sitting on their hands.
Yep.
Kind of seeing which way the
wind blows.
The wind blows. Yeah. No, I ain't afraid of no president. Okay. Well, Sasquatch. She's
But
afraid
again, we all learned our double negatives.
Right.
Okay. You don't do that. Right.
Right.
What did you say? So I've got to rush back to the office because you know that there's nothing more close to my heart than a lawsuit. And so you tell Donald Trump the lawsuit's coming in a matter of hours. Uh-huh. Okay. And then she said a bunch of stuff I don't care to read. I just want to see some people get arrested, you know what I mean?
That's kind of something that I was thinking, like, the whole, like, issue surrounding the real estate stuff. Like, I feel like it's fairly obvious that that was corrupt.
Right.
And I don't know the process that you have to go through, or DOJ would have to go through, but I really feel like, hey, shouldn't you be investigating this? This is clearly a BS charge. And isn't there some kind of violation of the law when all the parties involved said, no, we're happy with this situation, and they blatantly lied about the value of Mar-a-Lago, you know, and she went to prosecute. Isn't there some remedy, or didn't she break some law? Again, and not that I know, but I feel like, shouldn't the DOJ be like, all right, look, you broke this law, we're going to invest, or you broke the law by trying to, you know, improperly prosecute this person. It was based on total BS. It was politically motivated. Isn't that, I feel like that, again, I don't know, but I feel like there should be some kind of law that was broken. That I feel like that is illegal somehow. And why is it that the DOJ hasn't started to investigate that kind of stuff?
I can't answer that question.
Not gonna get arrested.
No, I mean, I don't think so either. Well, even for this, you don't think that?
No. It's
Why?
all bravado, and nothing ever happens.
Right
again.
I hope this is the exception to the rule. I don't like. When I lived in New York, I never liked this lady. All right. Before I figured out that she looked like Sasquatch, I still never liked her. And
you're saying that you would have liked someone else more? Like if you heard
probably not. Yeah, I probably wouldn't like any. I don't like any Democrats in New York. You have Kathy Hochul.
No, but you said even. What would you say? Even before?
Before she looked like Sasquatch.
Right. So the implication is that there are some people you've not met that you would like more if you saw them and they looked like Sasquatch.
Well, if
I agree with that. If I knew a dude, but I only ever talked to him on the phone, and I showed up and Sasquatch was there, I'd be like, yes.
Yeah, I would be like, we found him. Right? It's like, finally, we got something. I want to see her. She is. There are things I want to say we can't say, right? But she is such a detestable person, and she's carried herself in this. You know, how many times did she post on X? Nobody right?
Her insolence should be smacked down.
Right.
That's not gonna happen. If she got arrested, I'd be like, oh, karma's a bitch. But like,
and then you'd say things happen.
Then I would finally admit that something happened.
They arrested Donald Trump twice. Is that not a thing happening?
Okay, that's happening. Fine.
And that was only last year. Like they literally arrested him.
Yeah.
It was funny because we kept saying like maybe they'll arrest him. Actually, no, wait, he's been arrested several times already.
I've said before, he's just not angry enough. He's so magnanimous that he's like the retribution thing was. It was
Give me the Donald Trump